Okay, so today is day 16, 13th October. So we'll start with some object-oriented JavaScript, and then I will go with a few problems, and then we'll continue with the React Redux, which we started yesterday. So this is the task for today. So let me go to the browser. Okay, let me empty this. And now we started the functions in the JavaScript, and we'll continue with the functions in the JavaScript. So today's first topic is scope of variables. So in JavaScript, we have the function scope. That is, the variables created inside the functions have the limited local scope to that functions. So if a variable is defined inside a function, it's not visible outside of the function. So once a variable is defined in the function, it is only visible inside the function. It's not visible outside the function. So another point to note is there are global variables. These are defined outside the function, and they can be accessed inside the function. So the term global variables describes variables you define outside of any function. Okay, as opposed to local variables which are defined inside a function. So these are the three things we have to note. One is the function, which function scope, where variable is defined inside a function. Global variables, these are defined outside the function. And third point is the code inside a function has access to all global variables as well as to its own local variables. So if we are inside the function, I can access all the global variables. I can access also the local variables which are created inside my function. So let me write down this so you can remember. So the scope of variables, we have the function scope, and we have the global variables which are defined outside the function. Now we'll see one example of this. Part is code inside a function has access to all the variables. Third point is, okay, so these are the few points we should know before we see an example. So let me show you one example now what I mean by all these. So I create a variable called as var global equal to 1. Since it is defined in the main space, so it is global variables. We are not defining it inside a function, so it is global variable. Now I will define a function f, and inside the function I create a variable called as local equal to 2, and then I do global plus plus, then I return the global. So what it is doing, this function is doing, it is creating the variable local. This local is defined in this function. Since this local is defined in this function, it is not available outside of this function. But global is created outside the function, and we can access the global variable inside this function. And global can be accessed outside the function also. Global can access inside this function also. Now I enter it. Now if I run f here, so it is returning me 2 because global is 1, it is increased to 1 plus and it is returning 2. Then again if I run f, it is returning 3 because global is already changed to 2 by the previous call, and when I run again it is returning 3. Now if I try to run the local, it's giving me the reference error that local is not defined because local is defined inside the function and we cannot access it outside the function. So this is the thing which we discussed in the last 3 statements, that the function can access the global variable, function can access the global variable, function can access its own variable, but global cannot access the variable created inside the function. So I'm putting this example, the one which I created just now. And then I run this multiple times. I get output 2, and then I run again, I get output 3. Then I call the local variable and it is undefined because it is defined inside this function and it cannot be accessed outside the function. So let's do one more example. Okay, before going with that example, if you create the variable without this var, then that variable is in the global space. Okay, so it will be in the global space. So for example, I create a function f2 and I create a variable called a local2 equal to 2. So see, in this function I'm not attaching the var to this local variable. Since I'm not attaching the var to this local variable, I can access this in the global space. So if I run this now, it will not be there because we haven't called this function. This is created only when we call this function. So if I call f2 and then I call the local2, it is giving me the value of 2. So though this was created inside the function, but I can access it globally outside the function because I didn't define var before this local2. So anything without var goes into the local space. So I will run f2 and then I can say local2, it will output me to variable 2. But the general rule is never ever define a variable without var or constant or let. You should always mention what is the scope of that variable so that it is easy to debug the application. If you create this without var, that means you are creating unnecessary noise in the application and you don't know where is the error coming from. So always define the variables with the keyword var, and in the ES6 we have constant and let. So here I will write down note. It is important to note, okay, if you don't if you don't use var to declare a variable, this variable is assigned global scope. So this is something about the without var, but you should never create something without var. Can you hear me now? I'm speaking little loudly. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm just asking everyone.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
sir. Yes.
I don't know. One person said he cannot hear me. Okay, it's okay. Let's go. Let's go ahead. Okay, now I'll create one more example related to this, and I will ask you something about this. I will create a variable a equal to 1, 2, 3. Then I will create a function f, and here in the function f, I alert a. This variable a is created in global scope. I created the alert a here. Then I say var a equal to 1. Again I created var a here. I created var a here also. Then I do alert a again, and I click enter. So I created a variable a, and in the function I created another variable a, and I alert a here, alert a here. Now my question to all is, what will be displayed when I run this function? It will give me 2 alert. So what will be the value in the first alert, and what will be the value in the second alert? So I just want to know from you. What will be the value? Someone wants to answer it?
First is 1, 2, 3.
Okay. First is 1, 2, 3. What about
And
second?
second will be the it will be the local for the function, so it will be the 1 only.
Okay. So you are saying this one will be 1, 2, 3. This is 1. Okay. Any other answer? Any other answer?
So one possibility is also there.
Yeah.
It will override the second variable, means alert will be 1, 2, 3. I think so.
Both the places.
Yeah.
Okay. I got your
1,
answer.
2, 3, and yeah.
Okay. Any other person wants to give answer?
I think 1 will be the answer.
In both the place?
In last alert will be 1.
Okay, let's run it and see what it is coming.
I think the alert will be 1 because it's declared inside the local variable.
So you are saying 1 at both the place?
Yes, sir.
But the code goes line by line.
The first place it will return 1, 2, 3. While the second place it will return 1.
Okay, so this will be 1, 2, 3. This is 1.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
it will be 1, 2, 3 at the last. Means alert A equals to 1, 2, 3.
Here it will be 1, 2, 3. And what about here?
All the output will be 1, 2, 3, sir.
So
because
both will
I
be
think
1, 2, 3.
It will. Because I think it is overriding to second A. Means where A equals to 1. Okay, and that is my one.
Okay, so you are saying this A global space is overwriting this one. So this one will be ignored, and both the place there will be 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so let's run this and see, and then we'll understand why it's happening. I will run F. So you'll see in the first time I'm getting undefined, and second time I'm getting 1. Now why is that happening like this? Why first time I'm getting undefined and here I'm getting 1? So I create this variable. Let's try to understand why this is happening. And then I created a variable, and then I created a function. And here I run the function. When I run the function, I get, in the first place I'm getting undefined. And in the second place I'm getting 1. I'm not getting 1, 2, 3 at any of these two alerts. Now what is the reason? Let's do one more drill and then we'll see the answer. Why it's happening like that. Let's say if I define a variable, Vivek, can you hear me now? Okay, if any other person cannot hear me, just let me know. So if I define a variable, for example, a variable name without any value, and I alert the name, it is not saying anything. Something, it's called undefined. Because if I say name here, okay, so we'll come back to this one in 1 second. Okay, so just let's do the example which we are doing. Okay, so why this is happening, that in the first case it is going undefined, and in the second case it is giving me 1. The reason is, when we create this variable var a equal to 1 locally inside the function, the actual code which goes into the memory is like this. Function f, it is going like this, var a, and then it alert a, and then it goes a equal to 1, and then it goes alert a. So this is how it is interpreted in the interpreted by the engine. So when it gets var a, it is we initialize this variable, but we did not give any value. So it is called it is giving the default value of undefined to this variable a, and so we were getting undefined here. And then since we assign a equal to 1, it's calling the a equal to 1, and then when I alert a, it is calling a equal to 1. So it is not taking into consideration of this global variable a, because a is defined in the local space. When same variable is defined in the local space, it will ignore all the global variables with the name, same name. So though we have written alert a, it is interpreted by engine like this. It is first creating whatever variables I have inside this function. They will move to the top of this function. That is, first line will be the all the variables which are defined in this function. So it will create a variable a and alert a. Since it is only, we initialize it without value, it has the default value of undefined in a, and then it is alerting a. And when I write var a equal to 1, it is actually interpreting light a equal to 1 like this, and then it is alerting a. So it will only take the local variable, but it is in this format. Now why this is moved to top? Why this variable a has moved to top like this? Can anyone answer me that? Why this variable a, which was defined here, it moves to the top of the function with var a, and it has the value of undefined? value of undefined is fine, because since we initialize it without any value, it is undefined. But why this has moved to top of the function? Does anyone know the answer? So the reason var a has moved to the top of this function is because of the concept of hoisting. This is a very important concept in JavaScript, where variables and function declaration are moved to the top of their scope before code execution. So all the variables which are created inside this function will be moved to the top of the scope, that is here at the start of the function, and then the code will run in the normal fashion as you have written it. And if everything is in the global space, all the variables will go at the top of the global space, and then it will run as per you have written it. So it will, var a will be initialized at the top of this function. If I would have written var 1, 2, 3, and if I have some code before it, for example, var x, maybe some code, I can say, so let's say var x equal to 1, I will write x equal to x plus 2. So I have written few lines of the code before a equal to 1, 2, 3. So how the JavaScript engine will interpret it? First it will create lines like this. JavaScript interprets it like var x, then it will say var a, then it will go x equal to 1, then it will go x equal to x plus 2, and then it will go a equal to 1, 2, 3. So you have seen all the variables which are defined in the code are moved to the top of the global space, and it initializes those variables at the top, and then the code is run as per we have written it. So this concept is called hoisting, where all the variables and function declaration, this function will also move to the top, where all the variables and function declaration are moved to the top of their scope before code execution. You might have seen many times people put their JavaScript file at the bottom of the HTML page, that is before the body ends. So why they are putting at the bottom? Because they know that all the variables and function declaration will move to the top of the global space, and so it doesn't matter if they put the file at the top or bottom. So whenever they call any function inside the body, it is called because all the functions are moved to the top of the global space before when the JavaScript engine runs. This is called the hoisting. Okay, so is it clear, the hoisting? Any question about the hoisting? I assume there is no question. Okay. Okay, now let's do one more thing on it. I will do console.log of, for example, I will say type of, I will put some variable which is I haven't defined it. So it is giving me undefined. Since I did not created this variable, its type is undefined. What happens when I print this variable? I call this variable without anything. Since I have not defined it, I have not initialized it, I am getting this error variable is not defined. Though its type of is undefined, but when I want to print what is the value of this variable, I am getting this reference error. But when I say var variable, so I initialize this variable. Now I will call this variable. So since I created this variable now like var, but I did not give any value to it. So by default, JavaScript gives that value. It is called undefined. And then I can give any variable 1, 2, 3, and it will then take this value 1, 2, 3. So if you initialize the variable without any value, it will be undefined value. Its value is undefined. And then you can put any value in it. So when I say var variable 1 equal to 1, 2, 3, so how the JavaScript engine will interpret it? It will first, in the global space, it will create var variable. So its value will be undefined. And then, var variable 1. We are using variable 1. Its value will be undefined because it is created without any value. And then JavaScript will put the value with this. So always, though we have written it like this, var variable equal to 1, 2, 3, but JavaScript does not do like this. JavaScript first move this variable to the top of the global space, and it creates that without any value, that is undefined. And then it later assigns variable equal to 1, 2, 3. This is how the JavaScript engine interprets. This is called the hoisting, and it is very important in interview. They will ask what is the hoisting. So you have to say all the variable and function declarations are moved to the top of the scope. So if we are inside the function, they will be moved inside the function at the top of the function. So for example, in this function, I define variable here, but this var a is moved to the top of this function, that is here, because it has to move inside the function in its scope only. It cannot go outside it, out in the global space. It will go inside this function. And that is the reason when I call this, it alerts first one with undefined, then it alerts with 1. It will not take into consideration of the global A in this case. The same thing happened few days in yesterday. I saw in Facebook, one person was saying, I defined var a equal to something, I don't remember the value, but what he was doing then, he was calling a function, and in this function he was calling a again, 1 something like that, and he was doing a plus plus. Yeah, he was doing a equal to 0, and he was asking, no matter time, whatever time he runs this function, the value of a is coming in this one 1, 2, 3, not the one 0 or 1, because if we print our alert a here, it will only take the alert of this global space, not the one which is inside the function, because we are defining var a separately inside it. If we would have not defined var, then it would have taken the global space. So this was the doubt in Facebook. People were asking a couple of days back. Okay, so this is about the hoisting, and you should just remember the hoisting because it is very important. In every interview, they ask the hoisting. Okay, so we are done with the hoisting. We'll go more functions tomorrow. Let's do the problem now. So we have done the reverse string problem few days back, and we also use the reduce method to do that reverse string method. Today we'll do one more problem that is called as, I'll put the function reverse integer. So the function is called reverse integer. It will reverse the integer. So given an integer, it will reverse it. So for example, if I give 24, it should return me 42. If I do 100, it should return 001, that is 1. If I give minus 50, and if I reverse it, it should be minus 05, that is minus 5. Okay, so this is the task which we have to do today. So I will get a parameter here, number, num, number here, and then we will do here some calculation. So first thing is I have to convert this number into an array. So for example, if I have 2, 4, I want like this 2, 4. Once I get this 2, 4, next step will be to reverse. We can reverse the array. There is an inbuilt function to reverse the array. We can do manually also as we did in the string, but since here we have to do numeric, we can directly use this method to do this. So we can use array dot reverse to reverse it. Once I call reverse, it will become 4, 2. So once we reverse it, we will join it again. If we join it, it will become 4, 2. And it has become the reverse. You will see it has become the reverse. So we convert it into array, reverse it, and then join it. And then we have to assign the sign also, because minus sign is not taken into consideration in this one. So we have to assign the sign also into this one. So to assign the sign, what we will do? We will use, one second. Okay, so to assign the sign, I will show you, once we are done with this one, I'll show you how to assign the sign on it. Okay, so let's do it now. Okay, let's go again this function. So the first step will be, I will take the number. I cannot, since it is a numeric number, I cannot use number dot split as we were using in the string. In the string, we could have used the string dot split, but with number, split doesn't work. So we have to convert this number to string. So I will convert this number to string first. So number which I got is converted to the string, and then we split it with this. Split will convert it into array like this, and then I will reverse it. Reverse will give me this one, and then we will join it. Okay, and then once we join it, we will use the parse int method, because it was converted into the string. We have to convert back into the integer, and I'll pass 10 on it, and I'll return it. I'm not worrying about right now the sign kind of thing, so we'll see that later. So let me run this one. What will happen with this one? So call the of 24, I'm getting 42. So what if I'm calling 100? So it is calling 1. What if I'm calling minus 500? Let's see what happens with minus 500. So it is calling me giving me the 5. So it's not taking consideration of the minus sign when we are running this one. Okay, so what we did, we convert to the string, and then we split it, and we reverse it, and we join it. So only thing is we need to change is we have to multiply this number with the sign which we are getting it. So I will write out this function again, and I will just do one more change in this one. I will use, there is an inbuilt function of the JavaScript which will take the sign of the number which you give me. So if you give the number of 24, the sign of the 24 will be 1, and I can apply this sign to this whole number, and it will give me the real sign. So if I pass minus 50, the sign will be the minus part, and then I will get minus 1 here. And if I multiply this minus 1 with the number, I will get the minus 1. So I will, ultimately I will say match the sign of the number into 42. So it will give me, if it is minus sign, it will give me for minus. If it is plus sign, it will give me the plus one. So now if I run this one of minus 500, so it will be give me minus 5, because this one will give me 5 and I am multiplying it with minus sign, so it will give me minus 5. So this is a function to reverse the integer. You can experiment it more when you get time. I'll just create a file in JavaScript folder. Okay, and then I give some example. So you can run with the examples. So let's do one. Okay, so this is the reverse integer problem. We did convert it to a string first. We convert it to a string first, then we split it, then we reverse it, and then we join it. Split will convert it to array, join will convert back into the string. Reverse will reverse the array. And once we get the final string, we put it in the parse integer. Parse integer will convert it to the numeric value, and then we multiply with the sign to get the final value. So this is how we reverse the integer. Okay, so this one was about the reverse integer function. Okay, now we'll continue our Redux part. So if you have any questions, whatever I did, you can ask in the chat also, or you can put in the group chat, whatever, wherever you want. I will answer back when I get time. So yesterday we did the Redux React integration. If you have not gone through the video of integration, you can go through it and see how the Redux is created. So today we'll move a little further. We'll do one more example of this React Redux. I'll start. I'll say React. I'll go into the folder of the React.js. Hello world. I'll start the server, and we'll do the Redux part more today. So let me open. So if you remember, I created this root reducer, and I created the store.js. Where is the store? This is the store.js. So this configuration of store.js is one time, so I will not touch the store.js today. Then I also integrated something in index.js by providing the provider and the configure store. Then I created this store here, and then I added the provider part here. So this part also I will not repeat because it is one-time integration. Close it. So we'll do one more example of the Redux today. So for example, if I want to create one application, new project, for example, I'll do a one sample project in the Redux so you can understand. So I'll create a new folder. Maybe my application name is ToDo. So I'll create a ToDo application using the Redux. So once I create this folder, all my functionality of ToDo will go inside this ToDo folder. I will create a new file called as todo.jsx. It will take my JSX functionality. Then I'll also create a new file called as todo action.jsx. So whenever we have to create a functionality, I have to create three files. One is something which is JSX file, which will display the output to the user. Then there will be action file, and then last will be ToDo reducer. So action and reducer will be of .js. So I will rename it. Only ToDo will be .jsx. Since action does not have any JSX code, I will put ToDo.js. So in the reducer, I will create the reducer as follows. Though I have created the reducer here, I will copy the same to make it faster. So I created the reducer. Okay, let's copy this text reducer into my to-do reducer, and to-do reducer will have only one called as data, and data will be in the array format. So whatever task I do today in the to-do will go into this data, and the data will be to-do. Data will be array. It will be not object. It will be in the array format. Okay. So what things we generally add in to-do? Anyone knows the to-do application? What things are required to do the to-do app? First is we need to add the data inside it. So we have the add function. We need the add functionality. Second thing is we need to edit it. We should know how to edit it. What is the third thing? CRUD operation, right? So this is a CRUD operation. We should be able to add it. We should be able to edit it, and we should be able to delete it. So we should always create all the cases which we know which will be needed for this application. Right now, I will not put anything inside this because I have not created the functionality. I'll delete the body of each one because we have to write the functionality of each one, and I will write it in few minutes. Right now it's giving me the red marking because I have not put any content in it. So I created my to-do reducer here. I did not put any content inside it. I initialized the variable with the data because whatever I do it will go inside this data. So we will fill all these things one by one. So I will go to action now. Here also I will create some body of the functions which I will be able to do for this to do. So first thing which we should be able to do is I will export one function called as add to do. That means it will add something in my reducer. Some data will come. I will passing this parameter, some data will come. And as I explained yesterday, reducer should return another function. And this function should have the dispatch and get state method. Right now I'm not using the get state, so I will not pass the get state. I will only pass the dispatch. And here I will write some content how to add to do task. I will copy this. I'll paste 3 times. One will be the edit to do. So here I will be calling edit one, and here I will be calling delete to do, and here I'll pass only the ID. Since every task will have the ID, unique ID, so I'm passing the ID here, which ID I want to delete it. So I will put ID here. Edit data will be, it will take the whole data and it will be having the new data in it. So we don't need ID, but we can also pass ID and data. But right now with our situation, we don't need it because data will have the ID and I will know which data to edit it. So how the data will look like? So I will just put the sample how the data will be look like. So for example, if I put first data, I am putting some manual data here. It will be object like this. It will be having ID, some ID, unique ID 1, 2, 3, whatever I want. And then it will have the task. For example, go to market. Okay. Right now, I don't have the user authentication, but in future, we may have the user ID also who created this task. So right now, I will just hardcode UID of 1, but later on, when we have a real application, we will be having the user details, and I will put the real user ID here. So this will be the one data, and I will add one more data for reference. So I'll say ID 2, user will be same. Right now, I'm not concerned with the user. I just created some key value pair. But when we have the real users, we can add the user data. Okay, so this is the one go to market one. The first one, second task will be to do will be Maybe I can say read or watch YouTube online class, something like that. So these are the two. This will be the format of the data. So when I add, should have this data. When I edit, I should also be able to edit this data. So this is the ultimate aim. I created to do, edit to do, and delete to do here. Okay, now this is my JSX file, RFCE. And here I'll change to my format, constant to do equal to arrow. Okay, and here I will say to do app. So this is my to do JSX file. I will call this in my router. So I will change the router app.js and I will import this one. Import to do from components to do, and inside to do we have to do. Okay, so this is my to do component. I'll create one router for it. Maybe I copy the layout router and I will move this to do here. And in the URL, if I have to do, I will be going to this component to do. So let me, okay, layout is not to do, layout is main layout. But component is to do. Okay, so I created the layout with component to do, path to do, and layout. Let's in the navigation so that I can see the to do also. Where is the navigation? Okay, so this is the navigation. I will add one more navigation of to do. And here I'll give the URL to do. So this was the navigation part. Now let's run this in the browser and see. Okay, so I have a constant. There is a spelling mistake in the constant. Let's fix that one. Okay, let's refresh this. Now I can go to the to do and I can see the to do app. Okay, so this one was my to do app. Now we will build the to do app and we will call different action to add or edit or delete, and we will call respective reducer for it. So we'll not complete today everything, but we'll start with the add part today. This add part we will do today, and the rest part, edit and delete, we'll do tomorrow. We'll not do edit kind of thing. Sorry, because this is a sample app. I'll just delete the task and add new one. So for this task, I will not do the edit one. I'll do only add and delete. Okay, though we can do edit also, but edit is, extra effort. I don't want you to put that extra effort in this simple project. But we can do edit in other projects when we'll reach to that point. Okay, so now we will set up the React Redux connection here. So how to do React Redux connection? I will say import connect from React Redux. So this is the connection between the React Redux. I will also import all the actions here. So what are the actions I created? One is the add to do, and one is the delete to do. So the display part of the to do will do tomorrow, and delete part will do tomorrow. Only add to do will do today. And also I will import, since I want some text box, I will call the text box which we have created long back inside this widgets. So if you remember, we have the input widget like this. So I will call this input widget also for taking the input from the user. So I'll call input from, I'll go to the widgets, and inside widgets I'll call the input. So these are the three things I'll call. Next will be, I will create two variables. One is called map state. It's a function. And I'll also create another variable called as actions. It will be simple object. And this map state will take the state. And here we have to return some object. Since we created the to-do reducer, but we haven't added it in the root reducer. So always, whenever you create the new reducer, you have to add it here so that it can be accessed in our application. I'll go to components. Inside component, I'll go to to-do, and inside to-do, I'll call this reducer. So this is my to-do reducer. I will pass this to-do reducer. And this to-do reducer is having the capital T. To differentiate between these two, I will make this as a small t. So though I created the to-do reducer with a capital T, when I'm utilizing it with a small t. So this is how we do it. Okay, so this is something okay, so we will do this to do here with small t. And here it is capital T. Okay, let's stop this one. And now what I will do, okay, so in the map state, I will be getting what I put in the root reducer. That will be the to do reducer, and it will be state dot to do reducer. So from the root reducer, I will get this value. I'm passing it to this one, and this to do reducer I can access in the props. So I'll say console.log props are props. So what I did, I created the connection, then I created the map state variable, and the map state will be having the what you call as state coming in, and inside the state we get the reducer value, and inside the action I will add these functions from the actions. I will add this function from the action. Okay, so I did these two functions. Now in the last part, to change this default one, I will use the connect here, and I will say map state and actions, and I wrap this to do in a round bracket. So this is the task which we did to integrate the React Redux connection. This is the way we do it. So let's see now in the browser. Okay, so to do app, I can see the props, and props is I'm getting add to do, I'm getting delete to do, I'm getting to do reducer. Inside to do reducer, I'm getting the data, and data is having the two already initial one which I created, which I showed you. These are the two initial state which I put. So I'm getting these two in the data. So this is how we set up our page. Now we will do the add part. So here I will be putting add part. So let's do the add part. If you remember, I created app add.jsx. In that I have one input one. I will copy this input part, and here I will say h3 to do app, and here I'll pass the input one. So I'll create one form tag first, and then I'll put the input one. It will call the handle change. Right now I haven't created the handle change function, so I'll just put one function, handle change equal to a simple dummy function. I have not put anything inside here, but I will put when the time comes. And what will be the name? It will be task. What will be the display name? It will be the task here also. Enter your to do task. Size, I want size small. And read only is false. Plain text is false. I don't need these two right now. And the value will be right now I'll put I have to take that value. So for that I will create a local state here, and that local state will be task and set task. And I'll use state. Initially it will be null or empty space. So what will be the value for this? Value will be the task, which I created a local state variable. Though this is the Redux integration, we have the common place of the state, but we should also create some local state variables which are needed for the local purpose. And this state is for the global purpose, that it can be accessed by many other components. So this is also needed for that global purpose. And this task or the local state variable I created, it's only used when I change this input format. So this is for the local task. We should create some local state variables. So this is all about the creation of the page. Now if I refresh the page, okay, I refresh the page, I get this task here. I can put this here. Right now I cannot enter it, I cannot change it, because I have only used this task. I have not updated it. So let's write something in the handle change so that when I write, I should be able to get it. I'll put E here as an event where I will get the value of that input box, and I can say set task, and in the set task I say e.target.value. So whenever user changes this input box, it will call the handle change, and inside the handle change it will call the set task. Set task will update with the value. This is the value which will come from the input box, and it will update this task value. And once the task value is updated, this task value will go inside the value, and I can see the updated value in the input box. So now if I enter, I can see I am able to put some value inside it. And when I press enter, I should be able to take that value and put it inside my reducer. Right now reducer has 2 already value. We should be able to add one more. Whatever task I will add it. So let's do that part now, because we have to complete the add part today. Okay, so let me do that. So when I press enter, I will call the onSubmit function of the form, and here I will create a function called as handle submit. So whenever user will press enter, we will call the onSubmit, and I will create a function onSubmit here, handle submit. This submit will also get E, that is the event, and first step which I have to write is e.prevent default. If I don't write this statement, when I press enter, the page will refresh and we won't be able to achieve what we want. And once the e.prevent default is called, then I need to now call this add function, to do function, with the task value in it. So first I will create the object which will be passed there in the add one. So I can say constant object equal to, and this object will have ID. We have to give some unique ID. So to give the unique ID, right now I just put one current date. Date.now, I will convert it into the string. So this will be the current date and time, which will be the unique, which will pass. And I'll create another key value pair, that will be the task. Task will be nothing but this task. So I will be putting, this is a key and this is the value which is coming from here. This key can be anything. Right now I'm putting task. I can also say subject or anything, but this task will come from here. Okay, so let me put task both same, not a problem. So this key can be anything which we want, but this task should be the one which I have the variable here. So this is the variable and this is the key which we want. This can be anything. This task should be matched with this task. And third thing, I will pass UID. I will pass UID always 1 because right now we don't have user, and I will put it in the add to do. And I'll pass the object inside add to do. I cannot access add to do directly. I have to use props.add to do. Because whenever I create these actions, this will go inside the props and I should be able to access it using the props. So once I call the props.add to do, it will call this add to do inside the action, and here I will dispatch. I will dispatch with the type of add and payload of data. Since I am passing data here, I will put the type of add because I have to add it, and I will create a payload as a key, and I will pass whatever data I am getting it. So this is the only statement comes in the add to do. When I go to reducer, I will use a state equal to. I will create the state value like this. So we have to put it in the object. Since state is object, see initial state is object. So we have to put it in the state object, and we have to take the previous state like this. There's a dot 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 previous state, whatever state is there, I have to take like this state, and then I have to update this data one. I cannot say like this data is equal to action dot payload because data will come inside the payload. Since we have seen in the add to do, we are passing the data in the payload. So in here we will be able to receive it using the action dot payload. But I cannot say data is equal to action dot payload. If I say like this, it will remove all this content and it will take new one and replace the data. So we have to take this old data first and we have to push this new data inside it. So how to do that? I will create an array. Since data is array, so we have to put it in the array, and I will take the past data. Past data means list data. So I'll say dot 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 state dot data. That means first take this data, whichever we have, and then append it with the new data. So new data will be appended to whatever we have. And in the end, we return the state. So previous state will be like this. And once we call the add, we take the previous state and we take the previous data and we append the new data to the previous data. So this is how we have to do in the reducer. Just go through this statement again and again in the recording. And if you have any question this, I will clear it tomorrow. So now my to do, once I click the submit, I create the object, it calls the add to do. Add to do will dispatch the type and payload, and reducer, I take the payload and append with the data which we have. Currently we have 2. Once I click add, it will be appended with the one more, this one. Okay, this is about add. Let's check now on the real life. So I will add some data, for example, evening tea time. I click enter. Once I click enter, you will see action is called with the payload of ID. This is the unique ID created for the current time, and this is the task which I added here, and this is the UID. It goes into the reducer, and in the reducer we can see the value. Previously it was 2. Now we added one more. That is this one. If I add one more, for example, night time. So if I go to the next state, I'll go to do reducer. I will see now I'm getting 4. Evening tea time, night time. So this is something appending in my data. So once I put night time and I click enter, I should empty this one. I should empty this part. So to empty it, I will go to the code, and in the to do app, once I call this add to do, I will just set task with empty value. So this set task is called with the empty value because its work is done. It sends the data to this add to do, and now we can empty this set task, and this will empty this value, and we will see empty text box. So let's go and see it now. Okay, so I'll do, let's say initially right now it will be 2 because it refreshed the page. So it will be the 2 initial tasks. Let's add few more tasks. 1. When I press 1 and enter it, you see 1 has gone to this reducer, and this got empty here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so let's see what happened in the last. So we are getting 8 here. This way we added the to do task. Tomorrow we'll see how to display this all the items here and how to delete it. And if we want to edit it, we'll delete it and add it again. But we will not edit it. Edit is little complex task which I don't want to take now, but next task or next project will be, and I'll take edit also. But with this small project, I just want to show you how the React Redux work, and for that I don't want to put the complexity of edit part. Is that clear? Any questions?